Ross Coulthart calls out the lovely Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. There's a new crop circle. Bob Lazar feels vindicated by all of this and more stuff to go over. So let's go over the latest UFO news and a UFO news roundup. So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, first off, we have to hear what Ross says about Sean Kirkpatrick and ways to navigate going forward. How do UFO whistleblowers proceed with a corrupted and co-opted Sean Kirkpatrick and Arrow? Let's listen.
I've just had a conversation this morning with somebody who approached me on behalf of a witness, a potential witness from within the legacy program, somebody who purports to have direct knowledge of the very same program that David Grush is talking about. And they're asking my advice about how to approach. And frankly, one of the issues at the moment is that the Pentagon's UFO U.A.P. investigation office, ARRO, it's sending out a shocking signal. It doesn't have a phone number. It doesn't have an email address. It doesn't even have a website. And its Twitter page hasn't posted a tweet since the very first tweet it posted last year.
It's a really good point.
If this truly is an agency inside the Pentagon that's seriously interested in proactively investigating and hearing from witnesses, it's not sending that message out. And so I'm in the dilemma at the moment. Where do I send these poor people? And I'm encouraging them to consider going forward to either the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community or the Inspector General of the Defence Force, or to, frankly, just come forward to the Senate Intelligence Committee with the evidence they have. Because I have to say, not a lot of people have a lot of faith in the current body that the Pentagon has entrusted and that Congress has mandated to do these kind of investigations.
Boom! There you go. Ross Coulthart has called out SK, the lovely Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, and suggests possible ways of circumventing Kirkpatrick. However, I'm not excited about the possibility of whistleblowers going through the intelligence committees. Because as you know, I've already talked about, and as Russ has talked about, they seem like they have been co-opted by the UFO control group. So I don't see that as a likely avenue. So far, the Inspector General of the Pentagon, the IG, is probably the best avenue at the moment. That's how David Grush was able to get this stuff out, by going through the IG. Now, he had to submit a complaint in order to do that. So I don't know if that's going to be a good way for other whistleblowers to do that. They would have to submit a complaint, I would imagine. But maybe that is the way forward. I don't see a better way forward. It's not the intelligence committees. David Grush testified to both intelligence committees and both chambers of Congress 2 years ago. What have they done? Nothing. They've done nothing. So I don't see that as a likely route, and I'm worried that the new legislation proposed by Schumer and Rounds that is probably going to proceed in some fashion. We don't know the final language of that amendment yet, but it's going to establish a gatekeeping committee to release stuff to the public as it wants to, and it might also compel whistleblowers to go through Arrow, not allowing them to circumvent Sean Kirkpatrick as David Grush did. But again, we don't have the final language on that amendment yet, so that could change. My fingers are crossed. We'll see. But if they do get away with that, if they do get away with forcing whistleblowers to go through Sean Kirkpatrick, the fox guarding the henhouse, then, we're pretty much screwed. If that happens, our only way forward will be leaks and also direct interaction with the phenomenon, CE5. Us doing it for ourselves, so I think that may be where it ultimately goes, and all of this publicity with the David Grush stuff will raise the public consciousness and awareness of this to the point where we may be able to openly engage with the phenomenon on an individual basis, and have enough people doing that to actually have some impact. Because I don't think we're going to have real UFO disclosure until the phenomenon wants us to. And it may not want us to until there's enough people on board and interacting with the phenomenon in a peaceful and benevolent and loving way to get that going. Speaking of the amendment, here is a tweet or an X. Is it an exclamation now? I don't know. But yeah, Raw says White House backs a proposed bill from Senate Majority Leader Schumer, which demands presumptive immediate disclosure of UAP records. Now, those are some strong words, and I love it. I hope they are sincere in that. He goes on, it asserts credible evidence and testimony indicates UAP records exist that have not been declassified in an overboard use of Atomic Energy Act. This is the White House expresses no resistance to Schumer's UAP Amendment Act. And that's what concerns me. It's not a political thing, it's an establishment thing. The fact that, the executive branch, along with the Senate Majority Leader, are on board with this new legislation has me really worried. I would love to believe that the establishment was finally on board with UFO disclosure, and hey, it may be. I sincerely hope it is, but I do have grave concerns that it may not be, especially when I hear that whistleblowers, per this legislation, may be compelled to go through AARO. But it's early days yet, and, again, my fingers are crossed. I also had to share this tweet from Jeremy Corbell. He's got a bear. How awesome is this tweet? Come on. He says, regarding UFOs and those who have been actively and illegally covering up and hiding the truth of the UAP presence on planet Earth from Americans and the global public, poke the bear or kiss the bear. Up to you. But there's no stopping this now. You need to choose, like right now. I love it, Jeremy. Keep up the good fight. And I like the pressure that he's putting on him. You need to choose right now. Seems to me that he might know something. There were whispers before the UAP hearing with David Grush that there was a contingency plan by at least one documentary filmmaker in the UFO scene, probably either Jeremy Corbell or James Fox, outside chance Stephen Greer, that one of these documentary filmmakers was going to release some amazing footage that was going to blow the lid off this whole thing if the hearing didn't go their way. Did it go their way? I don't know. We haven't seen any of this footage. Maybe that was just a bunch of silly rumors. I don't know. Whatever the case, Bob Lazar seems to feel very vindicated by all of this. Let's listen.
Hi, I'm Luigi Venditelli.
And I'm Bob Lazar.
And we're in Montreal on the set of Project Gravator. 2 days ago was a congressional hearing in Washington, D.C., which is making news around the world. And if you had one comment to say, Bob, on this congressional hearing, what would it be?
I told you so.
I love it, Bob. You tell him. And he did, and that's the point. Meanwhile, Stephen Greenstreet continues his one-man campaign. Not one man, obviously, but he continues his campaign of UFO denial and the cover-up of the cover-up. My exclusive New York Post reporting, he says, has revealed that a small group of UFO activists have duped Congress and deceived 99% of the mainstream media. Oh, if only that were true, Stephen Greenstreet. Can you imagine if 99% of the mainstream media was actually aboard the UFO train? But they're not. Oh, and speaking of documentary filmmakers, here is James Fox replying to Michael Shermer, who has just tried to debunk a particular UFO event.
I say something, please, because I'm boiling over with frustration right now. This is the same argument, the same nonsense that's been going on for 80 years. Okay, so the United States Air Force investigated 12,618 cases, okay, out of which 701 remained unexplained, not because of a lack of data, but because of a lack of any kind of conventional explanation. So what I'm saying is, yes, you are right. The vast majority of these things have a prosaic explanation. We don't give a shit about those ones. What about David Fravor? Give me an explanation to that one. What about the Colonel William T. Coleman, who had an up-close 9-minute-long encounter with a flying saucer while piloting a B-25 bomber? Explain that one to me. Like, These are the ones that we care about. It's 5%, 10%. And I'm sorry to be frustrated, but Michael, like, I get it. I get that the vast majority of these things can be explained. We don't care about those. We don't care about weather balloons. We've been hearing about weather balloons since 1947. Chinese balloons, weather balloons, misidentified aircraft, weather phenomenon. Yes, it's all there. But we're talking about a small core that just can't. And that's what we care about. And that's where we have our sights.
Love it, James. You keep up the good work. I can't wait to see what you do next. I would love it if you did a documentary about the Majes Brazil case, where I did a video a few weeks ago about the UFO battle over Majes Brazil, where U.S. forces, the control group, with high-tech energy weapons and stuff, shot down 2 UFOs, and there was 1 human killed. And yeah, a lot of other stuff. Go check out that video and the other information about that case. But since James Fox did a documentary about a great case in Brazil, why not expand further into that country that has had a lot of activity and a lot of U.S. involvement into that activity. Meanwhile, Ratcliffe, the former director of national intelligence, is asked about the David Grush situation.
John, you and I have spoken about this in the past. This is pretty extraordinary stuff. Unidentified flying objects have been seen. Biologics have shown non-human body parts, and people may have been murdered because they tried to hide this. What can you tell us as the former director of national intelligence?
Well, Maria, you and I had a conversation more than 2 years ago about this as I left my position as the Director of National Intelligence. And I said, look, the government has more information than it's sharing. And that was, I thought that a report that was going to come out after I left would have more transparency, which was needed. Unfortunately, the Biden administration made the decision to really not reveal much. And now you end up with House Republicans having to have these public hearings to talk about more of this information. I will say this, I believe there should be more transparency on this issue. But not full transparency. I mean, the primary role of the federal government is to provide for the common defense. And, we don't share all national security information with the American people. But the government should have done a better job of putting out some of the things that you and I talked about, that I said, look, there are things that we can't explain, and that there are more sightings than are being reported. And, had the government managed this a little bit better, it wouldn't be as controversial.
Okay, so there you go. He is not denying the David Grush claims. In fact, he is seeming to indirectly support them. Although he tries to get political about it, but this is very much a non-political issue. In other words, a new crop circle has appeared July 30th, Kitts Lane near West Meon, Hampshire. Check this out. Isn't that a pretty crop circle? Now, I don't know if this is a legit crop circle actually made by non-humans or not. A lot of these are hoaxed, of course. But check out my video that I made a few weeks ago asking the question, are crop circles trying to give us the secrets of free energy? And it's a really amazing piece. The reporting is not my own. I wish I could take credit for it. But somebody put the pieces together and was finding geometrical symbols and shapes that seemed to suggest elements of free energy. And maybe that is what the crop circles, the legitimate non-human crop circles, are trying to tell us or explain to us or impart to us. But, again, I don't know if this is a legit crop circle or not. I can't wait for some investigators to go out there and check it out, see if the crops in question have the genetic anomalies and there's the electromagnetic anomalies and so on that are associated with genuine crop circles. But I love crop circles, so I thought I'd bring this latest one to your attention. So let me know what you think about all of this. I think that Ross Coulthart is spot on in calling out Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick and suggesting ways of circumventing him. However, I think those avenues of circumventing Sean Kirkpatrick may be getting slimmer if the new legislation is passed, and it will. Some version of it will, but again, we don't know the final language or how it's going to be interpreted, and we don't know how the gatekeeping committee is going to interact with the proposed committee by Gates and Moskowitz and others. that is going to be the public face, hopefully, of congressional interest in UFOs, as opposed to the gatekeeping committee, which will be trying to control the narrative. But, you know, that's assuming that both committees come into being. But there's a lot of other juicy stuff here. We have Ratcliffe basically confirming Grush's story. We have Bob Lazar feeling vindicated. And of course, we have Stephen Greenstreet keeping up the fight, saying that 99% of mainstream news has bought on to that silly, bogus UFO idea. But let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. Sure would appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. Love to see you guys there. And there's plenty of other videos to check out on the channel. See you next time, guys. This is Jack with Cosmic Road signing out.